We only have 13 hours of recording that we can do, so we're kind of going to be a little bit hasty with how we conduct this podcast.
I mean, listen, if you only want to do 13 hours, that's fine. I mean, if you want it to be short and sharp, that's it.
Yeah, well,
I was thinking 24 hours, but, whatever.
24 hours. It's not like I've got shit on tomorrow and whatnot. Do you know what? It can wait.
No,
it can wait, yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of Joe.podcast. Still the title. Fuck you all. And today I've got with me a friend. I guess I can call you a friend now. It's been long enough. This is...
Oh, is that all that you need to be a friend? It's just time?
A little bit. Getting to know each other. That can help from time to time. Anyway, this is MHayduk. He's an actor. He does YouTube stuff. I don't know what title to call him. Welcome.
Hey. Yeah, MHayduk is fine.
How good is the sound effects?
I do like the soundboard. That is nice.
They're just the bass sounds that I use. And there's one which is like an intro song thing, and it goes for a whole minute. And it's that just is going to blow my mind. Have it in the background during the Squarespace ad read.
Fair enough. I was going to say, is that something that I have to listen to right now? Because otherwise I'm just immediately going to fucking leave the call.
I've rearranged my structure because I did stand-up comedy for the second time right before recording now, and I wasn't sure whether to tell you beforehand or not. So I'm on a bit of a high because it actually went well.
Well, I don't even know that you were doing stand-up comedy in the first place. So why don't you tell me about this shit?
I did stand-up once before COVID, and I bombed hard. But I feel like that happens to most first-time stand-ups. I feel like if you're starting out really, really well, then you got something wrong with you. Yeah, but I had this bullshit confidence I was going to walk on the stage and I'd turn into Dave Chappelle, a white Dave Chappelle.
You got shut down immediately by that.
I know, right? It didn't work, but I went in today and I changed my order a lot and just added some new things, and it worked out. And the host called me fantastic, which was
good.
The greatest ego boost. I can only come back to that. I can only come back to that bar in June to do stand-up because they are packed out, but I might as well give them a shout out. It's the Resistance Bar and Cafe. It's underneath Glenferrie Station. And thank you to Paul, who runs the comedy, and Jay, who runs the Resistance itself. Thank you for letting me on. What an absolute blast that was.
Damn, legends.
And the indie comedy scene in Melbourne is actually really nice and chill, and they're really supportive and stuff like that. You hear that it's quite cutthroat, and if you're shit, people will throw stuff at you, and bombing and doing badly, the amount of anxiety that you get from it and how terrible it feels, it's new levels of disappointment and pain.
I can say for certain when you're doing something like acting and that, because there's no pretending that you did well when you've done poorly on stage. It doesn't matter what you do, whether acting or comedy. If you bomb, it, and that you fucked up. So it feels terrible, but I feel like that's something that you got to kind of get over, because sometimes you're gonna do poorly and sometimes you're gonna do well.
The headliner had this look in his eyes where there was just nothing going in or out. It's so how long have you been doing this? He goes, 5 years. And I'm like, damn, you've been good. And he goes, there's nothing in your eyes. I'm very sorry. I just have to know. He goes, yeah, I've bombed and done well so many times that there's just nothing anymore. So it actually brings
just completely dead.
Before we get into the meat, it's a good question for you. I find you fucking hilarious, and you just come up with shit a lot. You got that good natural charm. Why don't you do stand-up?
So funny you should say that. I actually did try and go for sketch comedy and stand-up comedy things when I was younger, and it may very well just be this is probably I'm 23 now, and this was probably 15 or 16. This is when I have peak levels of teenage confidence. I am the best thing that ever could exist, and I'm the most hilarious person alive, right? So I go into this audition, and it's for some ABC terrible sketch comedy where the kids make up the jokes and it's just horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I go into that not having done any stand-up comedy, not having done any kind of prior comedy work, only doing improv stuff, which, it works, but it's very different to comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
cameras and lights and no audience. It's
yeah, slightly different. And you were supposed to bring in with you like a small little skit or like a small stand-up routine that you had set up. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll just do that. I'll just wing it. It'll be fine. Which is probably my first mistake.
Nice.
We go in and everyone in there is about the same age as me, except all of them have done comedy prior. They all have like comedy experience. They've all done like workshops and classes and this, that, and the other. And to put a long
comedy
story short,
class sounds like a fucking nightmare, because when you actually dissect comedy and talk about why it's funny or why a certain joke is funny, it just loses a lot of its structure and everything. Like,
especially when you're 15 and don't understand half the words that they throw at you.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, you miss it.
But you're 15
and then, so
and
I just come on. Yeah, I came in and then immediately I immediately knew that I was completely out of my depth, because like all of them were really, really funny and they were like really witty and really fast. And I was just fucking terrible and just drowned on dry land. So I think maybe like after that, I just decided that stand-up wasn't for me. So
would you consider it again?
It's not something that I've considered, but it's not for any particular reason. I think mainly because like I'm focusing on my directing and my acting a lot now, that stand-up comedy feels like a whole beast that I want to either focus time on or, like keep in the back of my mind.
They talk about having different comedy shops for like a gym. You work out at this gym and stuff like that. You go to this bar and you practice these bits. It's actually, the Comedy Store documentary is really good and worth watching, because they talk about that whole psyche and how back 40, 50 years ago, the big trend was if you could get on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Carson, that was the big thing. That was awesome. But nowadays it's getting into podcasting. The podcasting is just huge. And I think the statistic in Australia was 80% of households listen to a podcast per month or something like that.
I'd love to know how many of those podcasts are in like the top 10 or top 20 of podcasts. Like how concentrated is the actual podcast scene versus like, are people listening to just a random podcast that they pick out, or are they getting recommended stuff? My immediate guess is that it's from like recommendations, things like Joe Rogan podcast or like, things from the radio that they hear.
It was really funny actually in the Comedy Store documentary, because they went between each person and their logo for their podcast would come up, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Everyone's got a fucking podcast.
I mean, you don't even have to be in comedy to have a podcast now.
But you have people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a guy who has a podcast on astrology, and he gets 100,000 weekly listeners per new episode.
Oh my God.
What the hell? Now, I know like when you look at YouTube numbers and Joe Rogan numbers, by the way, Joe Rogan, Logan Paul, David Dobrik, I know he's cancelled now, but David Dobrik, those numbers are so fucking unobtainable for the standard average person.
Like a normal person.
Yeah, the normal person. If you can get like 2,000 recurring listeners, that's very fucking good. That's a very good community.
I can say from having started making a YouTube channel at the start of this year that, anything in the triple digits for me is like just fucking ecstatic. And then you sort of look at things like, all of these really big YouTubers, all these Instagram people and podcasters, you just see them getting like millions and millions. I think TikTok is now I'd say now, it's been around for a little while, TikTok, and they have these huge numbers of views.
Yeah, KSI, this was ages ago, as a joke made a trend for one of his songs that he made, and overnight it got 39 million views. The hashtag, which you can search, had like 39.4 million views from different TikToks, which is
that doesn't surprise me at all.
But
that does not surprise me.
It was also Anthony, the Smosh guy. I'm sorry, he's like, I've met Ian, not Anthony. Whoopsies. Anyway, he had viral memes on his little interview show, which is great. Sure. It's actually a really good show. To anyone, watch that. It's fun. And he had the hit or miss girl on. And I know the gender was a little bit ambiguous in that video. It is a girl.
Was it? I didn't know that was like a thing. I found that out like, I think like months ago, that people were like, oh yeah, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I was like, it's clearly a girl. Like, why was people, Why are
I
people
was a little
confused
bit
about this?
confused by it. I don't know. It's like, I
So
guess
weird.
I had this mindset that TikTok was attracting a certain type and a little bit,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Yep.
that's sort of that Tumblr mindset as well.
You're
But
probably
yeah,
not
it was
wrong,
very
let's be honest.
interesting. And all these other memes are saying, oh, you know, Tay Zonday said he's got something like 74 million. This other woman, I actually forget who it
Just
was, said something
casually.
like that. And then hit and miss, they're like, how many have you got? She's like, oh, it was something like 1.5 or 1.7 billion. I'm like, billion? What? Are you
Jesus
kidding me?
Christ.
So
Come
the
on.
TikTok numbers are just so crazy. Anyway,
Yeah.
going back to the stand-up thing, I think I have
Yes.
a bit for you to talk about. Now, I'm not
Go
going to
on.
say the friend's name, but a redhead friend of ours who kind of
Yes.
likes to stir shit. We were
Yeah.
during quarantine. We're all talking on Discord all the time because we have fucking nothing else to do. Feel free to swear,
No
by
one
the
had
way. and
anything to do.
let
Oh, trust
language
me, I
go.
already have 3 times.
Oh, nice. I haven't kept count. Good job.
Thank you.
Our
I was
redhead.
getting worried because you weren't fucking swearing, and I was like, oh, God damn it, am I that asshole now?
No. Just you be you. Our redhead friend. I don't want to say their name.
Yes.
They were just stirring shit. Now you are. Oh my goodness, I can't remember. How am I forgetting this? I have it like as a note, but I have a keyword.
It's a pretty shit note.
Oh my god. Where in Europe are you from? Germany invaded it. Polish.
Poland.
You're Polish. That's so embarrassing.
Jesus Christ.
I am so prepared.
Yeah. So Poland, yeah.
You're Polish, and you are
I am
having
Polish.
you are having a rant about you being Polish, and eventually this redhead friend of ours said,
Yep.
how about we go by Matt's house and have some bolognese? And you lost your mind at the concept of bolognese. You're just like, bolognese? I'm Polish. And you just kept on fucking going off. I don't know if you remember this.
Was I drunk? Like, what the hell?
I
happened?
don't know.
I
But
must have just been in a state.
you weren't saying bolognese either. You were going bolognese and stuff like that.
Bolognese.
You were just like
Yeah.
amping it up
look,
much.
I mean, I'll say this: if that friend who is at times an absolute bastard, if he gets you started on something, and if he stirs me up so often, I don't know what it is. He can push my buttons real quick, and like most of it's in good faith. Like it's not genuine a lot of the times. But if he's in a mood and I'm in a state, it's over.
I know,
I'm
right?
just like throwing shit everywhere. I'll pick up a goddamn chair and just throw it through a window. Like
It's funny how
it's frustrating.
it's funny how people meet and become friends as well, because a bald friend of ours, you know who I'm talking
Yes,
about, with glasses.
I do.
I love the people. These guys aren't going to listen to it. They don't care what we say
No,
about
they
them.
don't
We just
care.
can't say their name.
Yes, that's true.
This bald friend of ours and this redhead friend of ours. I love how the bald friend's like, do you know how we became friends? And it's like, oh, how? He goes, I was his high school bully. And it's such
Yes.
a proud interaction that they had between them. And the redhead friend's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he was. Good fun. Good times.
Yeah. I don't know, but to be fair, I don't know anyone who didn't bully that guy in high school. Like everyone hated him because apparently he supposedly
He can push some buttons.
Yeah, but he'd also supposedly made fun of a blind, like he'd made fun of a kid who had a blind dad, and it had gone around that he had made fun of the blind dad. And it wasn't true, apparently. I don't know. But all I heard was that, like, yeah, this kid made fun of blind people.
And it was like,
fuck this guy.
there's a dark
Yeah.
side of me that finds it kind of funny. Where imagine if like the context was he was in an argument with this guy, and this guy was just giving our redhead friend so much shit. And
I don't doubt that that's what happened.
his red,
you know,
fiery head just decided to erupt, and he goes, "Fuck you and your blind dad."
Yeah, look, listen, I can see that happening. I can absolutely see that happening.
I'm gonna euthanize your dad's Labrador or something like that.
Jesus Christ! What the fuck? Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably something along those lines.
You mentioned your YouTube channel earlier, so
Yes.
you're doing 12 films, 12 months. Is it a challenge,
That's
or is it
right.
just something that you've come up with?
I mean, look, I'm calling it a challenge because that's like a buzzword now. But the main reason that I'm doing it is because I found that last year in 2020, which I and every other person that I've talked to has agreed didn't exist. We're just sort of pretending that year didn't happen because it was just a shit show. But during that year, I didn't do anything at all productive. I found myself just like sitting at home, on my computer playing games, and like by the end of the year, I was like seriously fucking depressed. Like it was a downward spiral. And I thought, all right, well, let's actually get something done. Let's actually put like pen to paper or like put your finger on the record button and actually start making shit. Because by trade and by sort of passion, I'm someone who enjoys making films, doing theater, doing musicals, doing all this kind of stuff.
How long have you
And
acted
I just didn't
for?
do that. I mean, it depends on what you define as acting. I mean, I did the school
Well, being a
plays
little
when I was
shit,
in.
you've always been one, so.
Well, that's it. That's true. I did them in like, preschool and that kind of shit. But I would say that I started properly acting about 16 years ago is when I started
Jesus.
doing like classes. And then I've been a professional actor, like, been on books and been booked gigs for about 7 years now. So it's been a while.
What are some of your credits and fun stories?
My credits are Neighbors, is Emo the Musical, which was a little
I remember just
film.
watching the trailer just randomly.
Yep.
It came up just like part of YouTube searching. I'm like, Emo the Musical, what's this shit? And you're in like one shot in the trailer in the background with long hair. And I goes, yeah, that's Matt. What's he doing here?
Yeah, I know. It's
I
crazy.
also spotted you in Swinburne. There was like this TV showing different student films, and these guys blew up a car in one of them, and there were 7 different shots of them blowing up the car. And the guy who was letting us loan equipment was like, that shot costed something like $18,000. I'm like, what the fuck? Blowing up a car, it's a fucking headache. But during all that sequence, there was like a slow-mo shot of you riding a bike through a suburb. Yep. What was that?
Yeah, that was a short film called Honolulu. I think that was the first time I did a university short film, like a student film. That was about like this kid who was in like sort of very poor urban Australia, and he was like just been downtrodden by everyone and sort of was very sad and eventually had to take care of this dog.
That slow-mo shot was fucking stunning though. Like,
it was a good shot. It was it was the last one that because we actually went out into like the middle of fuck all for like a good week and a half. I was sleeping on the floor for that time. That was fun. No, but it was great because it had been the first time that I had not been on a professional, like adults all around you. By the way, this was probably when I was about, I'd say 16, 17.
Yeah.
It's the first time I hadn't been on a professional shoot where, you've got like camera guys and lighting guys and makeup, and you walk into a building and there's like a receptionist and blah, 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 and everyone's very professional. This was the first time I went in and someone just came up to me and was like, oh yeah, no, I'm the director and the producer and I'm,
Was there even like a call sheet or anything like that?
There was a call sheet. I think they had to do it for their class. I think because they had, I think they had like the lighting people and the camera people that were all learning in their different departments, all coming together to make their final shoot for their studies.
Did you do media in year 12? Yeah, it was just
weird. I did do media in year 12. It was fine. I did you had to make a short film for that as well.
Yeah. So the short film I made, The Zombie Problem, I want to do, once I get video working, because it's a bit tricky with the soundboard. It's really boring and technical, and how to fall asleep is me talking about my soundboard.
I agree. Yeah. It is actually what I have as my bedtime story.
Oh, excellent.
I should have it on record and
nice,
out like a light.
Next to the waterfall sounds and the whales and stuff like that.
Rain clouds and thunderstorms, and then Joe talking about tech shit that I don't give a fuck about.
I got a budget, and so half my budget went into paying the actors, but now we've got half left for props and stuff like that and whatnot. And half of that budget for props and makeup and whatnot, because there's 2 zombies. Well, one. Yeah. One, but then eventually later 2. 1 zombie, and I had to use makeup and stuff like that. And originally, I didn't want to do this, but it was good in hindsight. We did testing for the makeup, so we have different looks and different styles just to see what would work on screen. And originally we had the zombie with like a gash on its cheek, and it was the guy's girlfriend at the time doing the makeup, and she didn't have much experience and was like, fuck, okay. It was just a bit risky and stuff like that. And I wasn't loving how the gash looked because she put latex on and then cut it, and then was able to like tear a little bit and stuff like that, cover it with makeup, and that's how you do a simple gash on.
Yeah, like super duper basic.
Super duper basic. It took 20 to 30 minutes, whatever it was. Anyway, I was looking at all these pictures I'd taken and on today, and I sent her a message being like, I'm not doing the gash. He actually doesn't cut himself in the story. It doesn't make sense. Let's just...
It doesn't need to be there.
I'm abandoning it. And she's like, why?
Yeah, good move.
And she's like, I'm like, because I said so. I'm in charge.
Yeah,
and she's like, but you spent all this money. And I was like, I know. It fucking hurts. Deal with it.
It sucks. That sucks. No, I get that, because I did a shoot where I was doing special effects and I needed like a creature type makeup. It was supposed to be sort of like an embodiment of a certain emotion. I think it was like guilt. It was supposed to be guilt. So I wanted like this really horrific looking creature.
This can be really tricky, like getting creatures that represent stuff and emotions.
Yeah,
like,
that was my first. That was a big mistake, because I had someone come in and she was fine. Like, she knew what she was doing, and that was all good. It took about 3 hours to do the makeup, which I'm kind of okay with. Like, I understand that it takes time, and it looked good. It did look good.
Yeah, it's not fucking Vision or any of those Avenger levels, 9 hours in the seat, stuff like that.
No, exactly.
2 hours afterwards to get it off.
Yeah, and look, and that's my point, is that it didn't need to be that long. I think she was just sort of fucking around a little bit. But then, which kind of really annoyed me, was she was like, oh, I need to leave in like 2 hours. So can we get the shots quickly? And me being a fucking idiot was like, oh yeah, sure, we'll just do it quickly. And I cannot, well, it got corrupted, so I couldn't use it anyway. But like, I didn't want to use it because I didn't have enough time to work with the actors and have it look good. It looked terrible. Like, I don't mind putting out things that aren't, perfect. I'm not like a perfectionist, but when, a claw is supposed to be hitting someone and it doesn't look like the claw's even touching them, like, you like, just
you can do some perspective stuff and like that and force it, but it's like audiences can tell. There's
that's it. I didn't use any camera angles to try and cheat anything. I tried to do it so that you could see the whole thing, which was also a fuck up, by the way. Don't ever try and do that unless you've got like a really good, unless you got really good people who know what they're doing with special effects.
Yeah, you just got like a Canon 70D with a kit lens, and you're like,
yeah, don't ever try and show impact. You should always hide impact. I'm actually doing an action short for this month's short.
Is this going to have more than just you in it?
This one will actually have more than... Yeah, so that's actually been a common theme, is me being alone in my shorts. And it's mainly because I just have been like super busy. And then like when I'm getting the shoot day, someone just pulls out for whatever reason. A lot of them are like, they're not being dicks about it. It's like I had one person who just fell ill.
You know, I got fired from a music video that I was directing.
You got fired?
I got fired.
How did you get fired?
Now, I want to just make
Wait, you're the director?
I was the director. So the band hired me, so I was working for them.
How hard did you fuck up?
No. It's actually a really interesting story, and it's a lesson about standing up for yourself. Now, I wasn't under any contract or anything like that. I had met this lead singer, and I'm not going to mention the band or anything like that. Interestingly enough, the music video is meant to be released in 2 days, and this happened a month and a half ago, something like that.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Because there were whole things about video releases and then when the single's going to come out and stuff like that. So we're talking about ideas and whatnot, and I got my co-writer, Sam, who I had in last week, on the pod, and we were just talking about different ideas, and she revealed the budget to me, and then I basically had to scrap a lot of them, which, whatever, because if you can't pay stuff like that, then whatever. She did want to do like a whole sequence that had 20 extras, and I'm like, you can't afford 20 extras.
I mean, look, if you can find people that are willing to work for free, then sure, but yeah, you're not gonna get that.
The working for free is the key point of the story. So as we're talking, by the way, the only thing that we had planned and stuff like that is some like locations, maybe some types of shots, and just sort of general discussion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She hired me as the director, and so I was talking to her. I'm like, so when we're on set, I'm going to have my shot list, and we're just going to work through it, and seeing how we're feeling and how we're going, we can improv a little bit and stuff like that. She goes, oh, I thought you were just going to turn up and I was going to tell you what to do. And I'm like, no, we need a plan. The more plan you do in pre-production, the better your production will go.
I can agree with that 100%.
So fucking simple, but you feel like you can't be fucked doing pre-production because you're like, oh, does it just take hours? Oh my God, the hours are worth it. It's
100%.
Anyway, so I was planning to do different stuff. We were going to shoot on the Saturday, and let's say it's Tuesday. I can't remember what it was. And I said, so you guys are going to pay me? And she goes, no, we weren't looking to. And I'm like, okay. I'm going to do location shooting, scouting for 1 day, 2 days on set, and I'm going to be editing a bunch, probably have 4 or 5 revisions.
They had you as an editor as well.
I was doing everything. Fucking everything. It was like a videography gig, but more. I even wrote the video and stuff like that. And so I said, you know what? You're a friend. I've known you for a while. Here's what I'll do. I'll do 150 now, and then 150 2 weeks after the single releases. So actually, this would have been exactly a month ago. So which there was 4 band members. All they needed to come up with that day was $37.50 each of them. Yeah. Which, people can be tight on money. They're a small indie band, but I don't think $37.50 is too much necessarily. Or
let me give you some context for that. I spent about $150 on props for the shoot. That includes things like blood, safety, and like all of the props in the shoot. And I use that just on props. So 150 is not that much money. It's really not.
Yeah, and it's twice, and the other time is in a month and a half.
Exactly.
300 total for me to direct, edit, shoot all of that for a music video. It's really not much. You're actually getting a bang. And I said, well, this is a negotiation. If you have a different offer, talk to me and we can, come to an agreement.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
She never made a counter offer or anything like that. She was finding my language confusing because I was saying things like negotiating and offers and stuff like that. And she's a little bit younger than me, and she's like, I'm guessing you haven't done a negotiation before. That's fine. And she found that so offensive, and she goes, we planned everything and this and that. How dare you talk to me like that? You're out. We've got someone else. I'm like, all right. Okay. But I'm like, whatever, that's fine. Sure, it was disappointing to be fired from a music video. I've actually never done a music video before. I've got heaps of ideas for music videos, but to actually do the practical work does seem like a lot of fun. So that part was disappointing, but I'm so fucking thankful that I'm not working for them, because she would have been like, no, I don't like that shot, can we do this? And the amount of fucking edits that I would have had to make would have just pissed me off. He goes, no, I don't look good in that shot. Can you get rid of it? I don't like how this pans out. And it's like,
I mean, look, there's a certain level, of trust that you need to put in people that you hire. I mean, look, you don't hire an editor to.
Also, you pay me. I value my skills are worth something. Okay, I'm not just going to turn up and do shit for free.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, do you want to hear a really, really funny film thing that I learned about in class recently?
Go on.
I think you might find this funny. Back in the day, there were these cinemas called Nickelodeons, and it was an Odeon is like a space where you can watch stuff, and a nickel is obviously 5 US cents, and
it's cheap.
It's cheap as, and it's where the Cartoon Network. Oh God, hold on. That's where the studio Nickelodeon comes from.
Yeah.
Back in that time as well, 1905 to 1915, they didn't have synchronized sound either. Furthermore, they didn't actually have, performers that could do stuff on the spot. So they had this big list of like 40 different songs to play in different scenes. So it'll be like, this film comes in, oh, here's a romance scene, turn the romance music on. Here's an action scene, get the trumpets going. The what makes it really funny is, depending on the ethnicity or color of the skin of the people going to the theater, they would change the music. And they had categories like black music and Asian music and stuff like that.
I mean, that's a real indication of the times. I mean, that's so. I mean, it's interesting to think about it now because, like, right now we would say, "Oh my god, that's crazy! Like, how could you do something like that?" You know, but you gotta remember, this is literally 100 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
over. It's crazy.
Over. This kind of shit, it just wasn't thought about as wrong or in poor taste. It was just that was just the reality of things. You know,
I don't know why. I kind of find it funny that that's the case. I can just imagine the people working there being like, "Oh, listen, it's Wednesday. Do you know what happens on Wednesdays? All those Asians come in. We better get the Oriental track on and stuff like that."
Man. And they wouldn't have batted an eye, man. They wouldn't have batted a single eye. They would have been like, "Oh yeah, we've got the black people coming in today. We'll have
they like this music. You know, they're gonna have fun."
Yeah, exactly. And they'll only like this one. They wouldn't like us white people music. Yeah. So weird, man. So weird.
It's funny how stuff like that happens. With your 12 films in 12 months, your first one was the Isolation thing. What's it called?
Yes, Isolation.
Oh, right.
It was called Isolation. Yeah,
nice. So that was obviously inspired by the boringness of last year. Is there any dialogue in it?
Pardon?
Is there any dialogue in it?
No, this one doesn't have any dialogue. The first one I always knew that I wanted the first one to be about COVID because obviously it's been such a huge part for everyone's life. And like, while it didn't affect me in sort of like a financial or a fiscal way, it definitely affected me on like a turning point kind of way. Like I said, I didn't do anything last year and it really didn't do very good for me. So I wanted to capture that feeling that I had that I didn't realize was going on last year. And, you know, it wasn't like my best work. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it's my, you know, tour de force, but you know, I think it captured what I intended it to capture. And that's kind of what I was going for, you know?
Do you plan on getting better with each month, bigger and better, or do you just want to make something each month?
You know, I actually wanted to focus on things that I have done in it. Cause here's the thing, when you do acting classes, right, you always kind of do these, you know, niche things. Like I've done things like animal work, which I'll tell you.
Animal work is so fucking funny. Everyone's like to me, the weirdest shit. Why do you do animal work? And then you see behind the scenes of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, and you see Benedict Cumberbatch crawling on the floor in mocap gear. And then you're like, now I fucking get it.
Well, that's it. Is that like so many things.
Not everyone gets to play a dragon, just by the way.
Well, that's it. No, well, yeah. But that's my point, is that I wanted to do things that you learn about in acting class and all these like different genres that you may very well never do in your like acting career. You know, I have never done an action like short. I've never done an action movie. I've never done an action scene, but I did, you know, nearly a month worth of action, you know, training, things like how to properly throw a punch, how to properly take a punch, which is a lot more important than people think. You know, how to properly throw yourself on the floor, you know?
Yeah, you're very much the on-camera stuff, but I know a little bit of the behind the scenes. And one thing that like I get really shitty on with action scenes is they are still a scene. The word scene is in it. You are telling a story through action and stuff like that. How are the characters' movements and reactions doing? What do they mean? And why are they doing it and stuff like that? And so it's nice to see things changing. But then again, you get Avengers Endgame, which is essentially an animated movie. And it's like...
Well, yeah.
It's like cool, but it's still standard conventional stuff. Anyway, what were you going to say?
I mean, all of Avengers is kind of like... I think that is just superhero porn. Like
have you watched
superhero porn.
Have you watched the Snyder Cut?
I've heard about the Snyder Cut, and from what I've heard, it's better than people thought. But I also heard that it's 4 hours long.
It is 4 hours long.
You need to justify 4 hours, and I have yet to see someone justify the 4 hours.
4 hours is half a workday
I've heard that I've heard it's better than the original, which let's be honest is not hard to do.
It
but
is.
fuck me, I'm not sitting down for 4 hours. I've sat down for one 4-hour movie, and it was Apocalypse Now, and that justified every fucking second of that.
Apocalypse Now is fucking
That's a
masterful.
great fucking film. Now,
Just
Zack Snyder, you have not justified yourself to have me sit down for 4 hours. Absolutely not.
It's probably Zack Snyder's best work. I talked about it last week, and I'm guessing you know the story as well behind it. I don't really want to repeat it, but it's kind of tragic. And the Snyder cut existing is quite a miracle, and it's quite nice that it exists and what it symbolizes and whatnot.
It wasn't supposed to, I don't think. I don't think this was ever meant to come out, but by every miracle it happened. I don't know how.
No, but it's like, I can just imagine the phone call goes, all right, Zach, cool, your movie, you're here. Let's do a bit of role play. Let's see how good acting I can do. I'll be the, I can be Zach and you can be the executive. And he goes, hi, I'm just calling up. I finished the script for Justice League and you know, the writer's room loves it.
Great.
We think we're really cool.
Yep.
Just letting you know, the runtime's going to be somewhere between, if every scene is included, something like 4.5 hours.
Of course.
4.5 hours. I hope that's cool with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, no, can't do that.
Oh, well, let's just break down things that we can cut. So Cyborg is pretty cool because he can, you know, it's got technology and we've got a really cool visual style about how we can represent his powers and how they work.
Can we just sort of, I'm going to stop you right there. Can we just have him be a background character? Because it seems like I'm looking at the script, right? And it looks like there's probably about an hour's worth of backstory and interesting dialogue. Can we just get rid of that?
Okay, I'll leave that as a note. I'll leave it as a note.
We'll leave that as a note.
Yeah. Okay, we've also got the Flash. The Flash is pretty cool. He's pretty funny, pretty quirky.
Oh yeah, he's fast. Yeah,
I think we've got Ezra Miller doing it, and he's actually like really funny and quite a charming.
He is very funny.
Charming young actor. We're looking. There's like a movie that we're looking to do in the future with him. I'm not sure if you've heard of Flashpoint. You know, a bit of time fuckery and whatnot.
No,
I think we can sprinkle a little bit of that into this movie.
No, I don't think that's necessary. Look, listen, you said he's a funny guy, yeah?
Yeah.
Can we just have him make jokes like throughout most of it? Because you need a funny guy, so let's just have him make jokes, yeah?
All right, I'll leave that aside.
Yeah.
And we got Wonder Woman. She's a woman. That's pretty cool, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
women representation. I love it.
She can fight and stuff like that. Or
we need to make sure that she's fighting alone because we can't have her being helped by the other superheroes. We want her to be very powerful by herself.
Yeah, people like Superman. Listen, I think Superman's at a point where he's really, really strong, and we just want to make him uber OP. Do you reckon we can do that for this movie?
It's a bit boring. How about we just have him be useless for almost the entire film, and then just OP right at the end? How's that sound?
All right, I'll work on it. And that's basically how the Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, my daughter's just passed away. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to run off.
Well, there you go.
Oh,
that's very unfortunate.
Hi, I'm another executive that's coming. We're going to hire this sexist, racist guy, Joss. He seems pretty cool. He's done a few of these ensemble films.
Well, he's given us a lot of money, so we might just do that.
We'll stitch it together. Literally, that's what the Joss.
Hour and 20 minutes, it's fine. Hour and 20 minutes, it's fine. Fucking God ridiculous. Honestly, there are some parts in there, right? And again, I haven't watched the full thing because it's 4 hours in Zack Snyder.
Okay, it is in parts, so you can it will fade to black and it'll be like part 2, so you can actually watch it as like a 6 or 7 part series.
No, Zack Snyder, you fucking asshole! What are you?
It's 3 hours of slow mo as well.
Listen. Well, yeah, probably. Otherwise, it'd be a 15-minute film.
Yeah.
Look, listen, I'm fine. Actually, no, never mind. I was going to say I'm fine with you doing that, but I hate that. I hate when in films they have like this fucking fade to black and then they have like a act 2, part 2, scene 2 shit. Like this is a movie, right? And even if you tell me, oh yeah, this is supposed to be episodic, absolutely not.
It is
then make it a series.
It is made to be watched as a full thing, but I think maybe that was a little bit of intervention where it's like, maybe we should part it out just because it's half a fucking workday and stuff like that.
Well, then what a fucking waste. What an absolute waste. I mean, listen, if you're going to have the uncompromised Zack Snyder, if you're going to do it for 4 hours, do the 4 hours. Don't fuck around with this, it's supposed to be episodic shit and like justify it. There's only one like interlude that I'm happy with. There's only ever been one time in a film where that's okay. And that is during Monty Python when they do the Holy Grail and you just have this shitty fucking like seizure-inducing thing that just says interlude, and that's it. And it does that for 5 seconds. It comes out of nowhere from the fucking film, and it's complete satire of the entire thing, right? That is the only time that it is acceptable, when you are making fun of it. If you do it genuinely, you're a bastard, and I hate you.
I just love
Make your goddamn films one film. Fucking with Fade to Black. You Fade to Black at the end, goddammit.
I just love Biggest Dickus and how that was totally improvised, and all those guards just couldn't keep it together and stuff like that.
They told the guards, if you laugh, you don't get a bonus.
Really?
Like they offered a bonus to the guards that didn't laugh, and they did not tell a single one about what that scene was going to be. So you'll notice at the background, there are guys genuinely trying not to laugh because they thought they were going to lose money.
Yeah, they're fucking super bright red tomato looking.
I love it, dude. It's so good because you can actually. There are scenes where you can see. I can't remember his name. Whoever plays the main guy, like Pontius Pilate or some shit. Like the
I don't know the names of Monty Python. I feel so terrible for saying that.
Me too. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
I know you're I feel like you take your comedy style from them a little bit.
Monty Python is absurdist comedy, which is what I love. Absurdism more than I care to admit. Like it honestly, there are so many interesting things about absurdism that has just like fallen to the wayside because everyone just like ignores it.
Yeah.
Because it seems a bit weird and creepy. Michael Palin,
there we go. Yeah.
Michael Palin. He is like, you can see him like cracking up just before they cut. Like he's losing his fucking mind.
It's hard to concentrate. I think though the Justice League 4 Hour Cut and the parts, it's a very interesting point in just media and things in general. I'm not sure if we'll see if you remember this back when Martin Scorsese called the Marvel movies theme parks, park rides. He called them theme parks. I think that's fair too. And everyone's like, Martin, what are you talking about? And then he defended himself on this like New York Times article, and he talked about how the Hollywood that Spielberg, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, that collective of people made together, that sort of era about, real telling deep, raw, emotional stories, really complex. Now, Spielberg's the ugly duckling in that group because he embraced CG pretty widely and a lot of traits. Anyway, but Scorsese made this point. That was how movies are becoming a lot more serialized and there's a lot less originality going on. And weirdly enough, television is actually becoming more like cinema. It's becoming more high budget. It's breaking trends all the time. And this is something that's gone on for the past 20-ish years. Malcolm in the Middle is a sitcom, but it's just a one camera shot thing. And the fact that there's walls everywhere, and you can see the house, it feels lived in, and their situation and existence feels awesome. Later down the track, you had HBO making Mad Men, and Mad Men, fucking unbelievable. I've seen only a couple episodes, but I totally see why people loved it. And then down the track with House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, releasing all the episodes at once. Breaking Bad is part of the Mad Men style of releasing because they still did it week to week as they released it. But with online and online series, whether to call it television or not, it is releasing all at once, which is
I think that's the streaming era. Things like Netflix and Stan and HBO. I think they really realized that. I mean, the reason that you did episodic, the reason that you did the week to week was because people had work during the day, and you couldn't have something come on every single night.
Especially with sitcoms, which was lighthearted comedy situational stuff that you could come home and relax and relate to, which is great. But over time, so movies are becoming more, theatrical and crazy and extravagant and quite awesome. And on the other hand, movies are wanting to become more serialized and more franchise-based. The Hangover had 2 more parts it didn't fucking need. The
Hangover had every single movie except for the first one it didn't need.
Exactly. Tom Cruise, The Mummy, was meant to start this monsters franchise with Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll or whatever his
I
name is.
totally forgot that they tried to serialize that shit. That's right.
Yeah. So there's so many attempts to
Wow, that
serialize.
flopped. Wow.
Fantastic Beasts is another example.
Yep.
Lord of the
Yep.
Rings. Then they made The Hobbit years later. So weirdly enough, movies are becoming more like TV, and TV is becoming more like movies. And now we come to Justice League, the Snyder Cut. It is in parts. You can.
Yes.
It is released as one 4-hour-long thing on binge for Australia at least, or HBO Max, wherever you are. You can watch it all at once. You can watch it in half an hour intervals or however long the parts are. You can, and it's all on a streaming service. It is this really strange combination of everything that has happened in developments in TV and film. And I'm watching it and I'm just like, this is such a unique and interesting experience watching this. And so you heard the parts and you're obviously not loving that. But I sort of see it and I'm like, damn, this is like the weirdest union between television and cinema ever. Like,
yeah, and I think that's a real. I think that sort of gets to a problem that people aren't really paying attention to right now. Is that you're right? Movies are turning into TV series,
and there's nothing wrong with liking those movies. Let me just get that clear.
No, yeah, there's nothing wrong with liking the movies, but I don't like that trend because you then sort of you lose the parts of film that are really, really good, which is things like being able to do pacing in a movie is so much more important than it is in a TV series.
Exactly.
TV series, you can have short, condensed, stories, and then you can have like this overarching story that people go over and have a think about. Where a great example of a film that I think is really, really good at holding on to that pace of a story and like really emphasizing how good a movie is something like Parasite, which won, I think it was 2019
so
or
good.
2020.
I love Parasite.
You know?
Yeah.
That film could not be a TV series. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be nearly as good as it was. But that is because
you're very right.
That is because the pacing in that could never be replicated in a TV series. Like the movie goes from this lighthearted comedy to this, heist type. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen Parasite, I'm going to try not to spoil it, but I may have it slip. But like I said, at the start, it's this lighthearted comedy with like, a downtrodden family. Then it turns into almost like a heist film, like a slapstick.
It changes genre a few times, and the shit that happens gets really crazy and interesting. But the stuff that happens at the end,
it's crazy.
Oh, the sequence at the end is fucking so captivating.
Yeah,
but then
and
again,
like, if you to have that in a TV series, right? Let's then break it down simply into those separate genres, and then just episode 1, downtrodden, sort of, what is it, like establishing shots, prepping the story. Next one, high slapstick comedy,
silly,
all these
fun.
crazy, all these silly, putting peach fuzz on someone's shoulder and blowing it into their like face, like just ridiculous shit like that. And then by the end of it, like horror serial killer kind of shit. It's like, cool. You've now got these 3 individual parts, and it's kind of cool, but you've now separated them into their separate parts, and now the audience can't slowly make their way into those areas.
Mr. Robot kind of does this. It's Sam Esmail, the creator. It's his love letter to film and stuff like that he loves and stuff like that, Mr. Robot. There's episodes with no dialogue, and this first line of the dialogue is, "It's all right, we don't have to talk about it." And then no one talks for the rest of the episode. Fucking brilliant. And at the very end, the epilogue of the episode, this one evil dude comes back and goes, "It's time we talk." And he goes, "You just fucking with us the entire time." There's a Birdman episode or a 1917 episode where it looks
Single
like it's
shot.
a one shot. It just plays around with different genres and styles, and it's really awesome.
And that's where TV episodic things can shine. One, in those small micro stories that wouldn't work for a long film, and in being able to play with genre and sort of twist it. And if that's only for an episode, then that the next one is going to have similar themes but a different genre.
Also, On the theme of serialization and Scorsese, I would call The Irishman a spiritual successor to Goodfellas. It's the same fucking actors, and it's all different, and they approach different themes and stuff like that. And it looks at Irishman, looking at all the fancy elements of being in the mob and gangs and whatnot. Yeah. But every time a character is introduced, you are told when and how they died. And it's like, what the fuck? And then you watch the last third of that movie and you're like, oh, okay. But the other thing is, Marvel now do TV shows, and I don't want to watch any more of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but WandaVision, each episode for like the first 6 is a different decade of sitcom. And that keeps it fresh, unique, interesting, especially with the 2 weird characters from the Marvel universe. The last episode sucks because it's basically, they've gone to like the Marvel finale of a big CGI fights and whatnot, and it's a fucking snoozer. But Falcon and Winter Soldier, I do not fucking care that Falcon is applying for a loan to keep his restaurant on the boat. I do not fucking care about that shit. It is so fucking boring. How can an Avenger, 1, not have money, 2, can't get a loan? He bought half the fucking population back with everyone else. Are you fucking kidding me? Did Tony Stark, billionaire Elon Musk parody, not pay these people?
Yep. Like, what the... Listen, I'll say this. Once Endgame finished, for me,
it was the end of Marvel.
End of the Marvels. I am not... and I have yet to watch anything else from Marvel because I'm done. You cannot... You can't spark that same level of like interloping stories and bringing them all together and just like weaving them to make this like grand finale. And then, like you said, you're going to take me to like fiscal problems of the Avengers. Like, come the fuck on.
It's so boring.
Like, I haven't even seen it, but if that's it, like, Jesus Christ.
Like, it opens with like a Marvel action scene and stuff like that. That's pretty cool with the Falcon.
Course,
but otherwise,
that's what everyone wants.
And I totally spoiled the first episode, by the way, which who gives a shit? It's not worth watching.
It's a garbage fucking show. I have never watched it and I don't plan to. I don't plan to watch any more Marvel.
Well, we kind of detracted a lot from it, but your second film, very dialogue heavy.
Yes, this one was a lot more focused on... So this was called, I think it was Talking to Myself. Hold on.
Something like that.
Yeah, but hang on, I'll bring it up just so that you guys can look it up if you want.
If you can explain the premise.
It is called Talking to Yourself. So the premise of the story is someone like, I don't know, this is actually, I found out isn't actually super common. It's not like everyone has it, but I have a internal voice that talks to me, like literally talks to me.
Jesus.
So it's things like when I'm reading a book, I don't just read the words. I have a voice, like it's my own voice inside my head reading out loud.
Okay, I've got that too. But I don't think it goes to the extent that your video is projecting it.
No, well, and that's what it was, is that it's simply a extension of that idea where there is literally another person that is yourself that is just saying these things to you. So it's kind of a projection of your inner thoughts. Funny enough, it's actually one that I've gotten the most concern about because a lot of people that have watched it and
I
have
remember
been like,
your girlfriend at a party being like, is this about me?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that I've had some people who are like, am I the one saying these things to you? Or like my mother comes up to me, she's like, oh no, I would, like, are you okay? Like, I'm worried about you from this. Like, that kind of makes me feel good, is that people have watched it and they have at some level resonated with what is in the short. People have looked at it and they haven't just gone, oh, that was a nice film. They've looked at it and gone, fuck, I've had that same thought, or shit, is this person okay? Like, are they like fucked up?
It's interesting though, like a lot of people, when they make things, they inadvertently are reflecting their ideas and their thoughts towards different topics through the forms of things. And I'm finding that a lot with, I'm writing a graphic novel series just casually as a side project.
Nice.
It's everything. I think I explained it last episode, but every an art teacher said to me in 2017, you come up with weird shit. He genuinely said that. You need to write it all down because
Fair enough.
you'll forget something good. I'm like, oh yeah, good idea. So I would write things down and I have, comedy bits, movie ideas, and whatnot. And one of the categories was sci-fi shit. And I had lots of sci-fi shit there, but then I realized that if I tweaked X, added Y to different things, it could actually all come together. And it's this huge epic thing, and it's a world I'm very interested and passionate towards. I don't know how much it costs to actually make a comic book. I also don't have an artist, and I would need a really
That's
intimate.
kind of difficult.
I know, right? I need a really intimate personal relationship with this artist to get it through.
That's fair.
But I'm definitely reflecting a lot of my ideas about society and stuff like that through it, and I don't want mum and dad to sit and be like, Joe, do you actually hate this? Like, why do you like that?
What the fuck is this? No, I find that in general, the best kind of work that people do, and I've noticed this as well when I work with actors, if you've got some sort of personal connection, or you've like been in a similar situation, or you can empathize really, really well with the circumstances, you'll just get better. You get a better performance. And it's the same thing with writing. Like with the shorts that I've written right now, I've found that the more personal and the more kind of history that I've experienced that I put into it, it just makes it more believable. I mean, it's more real because it is actually someone's experience. It's not just like the fanciful tales of, something out there. And I'm not just talking about like sci-fi and fantasy. I'm talking about like themes and genres. Like if you just think, oh yeah, I'm going to make like, if I was to make a film about a Syrian refugee where I'm a Syrian refugee.
It is interesting that you mentioned a Syrian refugee because I actually have a friend at uni who is a Syrian refugee.
Well, that's it.
She actually has her own podcast. I want to get her on so badly.
You should.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing, but I would never be able to make like her film and my film if it was about the same topic would be vastly different because she's got personal firsthand experience with that kind of thing and I don't. I can only look at it from someone who's watched it on the news, who's read it online. I can't put myself in those situations the same way she could. And I would say without doubt that her film would be better than mine, without a shadow of a doubt, because it would just be more personal, Well, like there would be more there.
It's interesting though with the creative stuff. I forget this system, but there was something that they introduced in either the 90s or early 2000s, but it was opportunities for especially black people to create jobs and opportunities that black people would be interested in. And the same thing needs to happen with creativity and representation. I could 100%. Write about different things. Like we went to a Baptist school and I have different opinions about religion and stuff like that. So I've only got that setting to come from, but I couldn't talk about what it's like to be Asian in Australia. No. That's one of the most underrepresented things, like especially Asian culture in Australia, because they have it surprisingly hard. Not surprisingly hard, sorry, hard. It can be very tough.
Well, it's surprisingly hard for us because we haven't experienced that. That's not the culture that we came from. That's not the world that we lived in.
Like I had an Asian coworker who was moving boxes or whatever just down the street, and a guy called her a dog and spat on the floor. I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's just not a reality that you and I would experience. The worst that I've gotten is, I genuinely cannot think of a slur that someone has thrown at me because of my race.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen. That's just not a reality that I live in. But it is for, certain people. Like
do you know who is a racist? Papa John. Have you heard about this?
Papa John's? No, what the hell is Papa John?
Okay, so ages ago he got fired. He got outed by his own company because apparently on a conference call he said the N-word. But there's different speculations about how it happened. But he basically went on a news program.
Papa John's.
I've got this written down and I'm going to try not to laugh as I say it. It has taken him 20 months to remove the N-word from his vocabulary and dictionary.
20 months? Come Come on, dude.
How racist do you have to be to take? It's super. What's a? I don't know. Like,
I genuinely cannot think of a word that, you know what? Like, I just think about it as like swearing. Like, I mean, that's a real way to just like completely bring down the severity of the situation. But if you're in a situation, where you're not allowed to swear, it's really not that hard to not swear.
yeah, it's
So,
like,
and it's also not that hard to like be racist.
yeah, it goes.
Unless
Oh,
you had
someone
like
burns the sample piece and goes, "Oh, that kind of looks like Dave over there." It's like,
what? Why would you say
Papa,
shit like
why would
that?
you say that?
Yeah, I just, you know what? I've never, because like another thing as well is that like, um all this stuff about sort of, male and female, like this sort of divide that I think is being pushed pretty heavily to sort of,
Another one. It's no longer called
separate
climate
people.
change; it's climate emergency, which is actually a
I
good
thought it was
change.
I thought it was the climate crisis. Isn't that what they
I've
said?
also heard that one. I might like crisis better because of the C's, the
It's what my
consonants. Is that what it's
what
called?
it's the alliteration.
Alliteration.
CC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
climate
consonants is
crisis.
inside of the word, right? Yep.
Yes. No, but my grandmother was like, you can't call it climate change, it's the climate crisis. And I was like, all right, grandma, that's all good.
Well, because
Um,
the main argument is, oh, climate change could be good. Change could be
that's
good.
true. Yeah, climate change could be good. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Setting yourself on fire and being cooked alive and also freezing at the same time does sound fun.
yeah. I really
But
want to get Sarah on to talk about because she's got a GoFundMe up funding her.
Mhm.
She does film at Swinburne and really wants. She's almost got it funded, but it would just be really interesting to have that on and maybe have a cry
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cute. You can't cry. You're a man.
I know, right? So you've got an action thing coming up for this month.
Yes, that's this month will be an action scene, which, funny enough, actually does have male-female violence, which is
Oh goodness,
um,
why are all of your films so depressing?
it's
Ugh.
not it's not depressing. It's like it'll be controversial. Listen, I'll give you a spoiler. I'll give you the spoiler. The woman wins. Like,
When are you
if that makes you
when are you
feel any better.
releasing it?
31st of April. On April, sorry, March.
This
So
will come
I
out.
always
This will come
yeah.
out a couple of days before that, but it will. Not many people listen to this, so that's all right.
It's my channel is MHayduk, MHayduk. So if you want to go check it out on the 31st,
Subscribe, ring the bell.
subscribe, yeah, ring bells. I try not to do that because it
Has
sounds
some.
so pompous. I have some
How
dignity,
irritating!
It is very irritating, and also I'm not using this as like a platform to, boost myself. I'm really just using it as a way to make my what's it called, like my portfolio bigger.
Yep.
Like, so that when people look at me and say, "Oh, hey, I really like your work. What else can you show me?" I can actually pull up my YouTube and be like, "Here's what I've done for like the past year. Here's what I've got in terms of short films. Here's what I've got in terms of, um, self takes,"
Can
which is
I?
really important, by the way. Any actors that are listening to this, you absolutely need to do self takes. You absolutely need to put stuff out there because otherwise you are completely dead in the water. No doubt.
Yeah, yeah. Can I tell you my idea for a short film that I came up with recently?
I love people's short film ideas.
I I don't know what situation I could submit this to or what film festival would accept this kind of thing, but
What the fuck are you trying?
okay, you just got to bear with me. I think it's
Fucking
really funny. It's a
Okay.
guy. It's nighttime. There's a guy lying in bed and he's just bored, and he gets on his phone and he stalks his crush and starts masturbating. But then,
Yep.
as he starts, it cuts to the girl, but she does the same thing. So she looks him up and she starts, rolling the bean herself. And
Masturbating.
yeah,
I don't know why you changed the word.
oh no, roll on the bean's kind of funny.
That is pretty funny.
And basically, it's just going to cut back in between the guy and the girl making more gross sounds. I think I have as part of like the notes or part of the direction, man starts honking and stuff like that. And as they're about to climax, it's going to cut to them at uni the next day, just sitting next to each other awkwardly, like, so, do anything on the weekend? Nah, nothing. And then it
Oh
ends.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, do you reckon you'd be interested in directing that?
I mean,
You need a really
if-
brave woman.
I was gonna say, well, you need a bunch of brave actors who are willing to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, look, listen, it's not the worst thing that I've seen when it comes to shorts or indie films. I've seen some fucking garbage.
It's hard to
Like,
make something captivating in 3 minutes.
yes, it is. I watched a short film um, from a bunch of uni students. I was helping them out, and they did like a little presentation with everyone's shorts. I was like, oh yeah, I'll come along and see how it goes. Anyway, this guy, he did the stereotypical like uni short film where it's just like cutting from apples falling from trees and him like in a shower curtain, completely naked, dancing around like he's in fucking, you know,
Footloose.
Footloose or like Silence of the Lambs kind of shit. Like he's
And
just,
then there's that one artsy kid who wants to be Edgar Wright and have all these cool quips and pans and long takes and stuff like that.
oh fuck! Oh, the amount of one takes that people do in university films is really fucking annoying.
You don't have
I'm
to.
so over one takes.
You,
So over it.
you don't have to go into too much detail, but what are you
Sure.
looking to make later this year with your short films? Because you said that you're
So
trying to explore different things. So
yeah, so I try not to think too hard on what I'm gonna do in the future. Just because it means that, I'm suddenly pre-planning what is supposed to be a month-long journey. Because I'm trying to do it,
oh,
you
I
know,
see.
concept, script, editing, shot, film editing out all in a month. But for next month, I'm having a chat with one of my non-actor friends who's had a very interesting life, and she's gone through some experiences that, well, frankly, I never will. She's gone and had cancer, and she actually beat it, which is
Oh, wow.
fucking incredible. Um, and she said, "Oh, I've been interested in, doing an acting scene. What would you think? What would you get me to do?" And I said, "Well, shit. I mean, you've gone through this fucking experience. Why don't we make something about that?"
That's really
Uh,
interesting.
it is
Wow, I
interesting, but
look forward to that one.
well,
I look forward to
well,
bawling
yeah,
my eyes out. Like,
I know. We're gonna see how it goes because again, like you said, it's very hard to captivate people in less than 5 minutes, and cancer is something that is very hard to put into words and also have it be concise in 5 minutes.
yeah,
A-
that's
a- and also get the reaction that you want, and not have it seem trivialized.
yeah,
So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure how we're gonna do that, but that's what's currently being talked about.
all right.
Yeah,
My final point that I've got here, it's not really related to anything else, but it's just a
sure,
fun.
that's fine.
I'd like to do a fun little add-on at the end.
Ooh.
Why did you pre-order Cyberpunk?
You're gonna need a whole podcast for this one.
Okay, we'll see how long we go for. If
All right,
we'll talk for a little bit, but
all right, all right.
because the thing about
So-
it is, we would stay up at 4 a.m. and watch Night City Wire
True.
and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We were so
Mhm.
hyped, and you said this is the first game I've pre-ordered in 7 years or something like that.
Black Ops 2 was the last game that I pre-ordered.
Black Ops 2
So
delivered though, mostly.
sure, it's fine. It was Call of Duty, and it was the last game that I. Oh no, so hang on, no, the last game that I pre-ordered was actually Black Ops 1. I bought Black Ops 2 after the game came out
Oh, right.
because I heard that it was good and then got over it.
Okay, Black Ops 1
Um,
though fucking delivered.
Black
I
Ops 1.
love Black Ops 1.
Black Ops 1 was a good game though. Black Ops 1 was a good game.
Anyway, Cyberpunk. Why'd you pre-order
Cyberpunk,
it?
you're right. Yes. Why did I pre-order it? So first, I liked CD Projekt Red. Liked.
It was
They
hard
were
not to like them. Like,
Yeah, they did very, very well with The Witcher 3. I actually really fucking loved Gwent when it came out, the standalone game. I know that it died pretty quickly, but I was really into that game. And when they remade it, I really loved that as well. So from what I could see, it was a track record that I was really, really happy with. And when you pre-ordered it, you could give all of your money to CD Projekt Red. I didn't do it through Steam. I did through GOG. You got the soundtrack. You got like wallpaper. You got a bunch of stuff that I thought was really good, and I thought that I was.
how exciting is that when
supporting-
you pre-order stuff and you get wallpaper and you feel so immersed in everything that's going on? You're like, I'm gonna have a fucking blast.
I don't mind the wallpaper. My favorite is the soundtracks. Soundtracks are so important. I think music in video games is completely underrated.
Do you have a favorite soundtrack?
I do. It's actually Path of Exile. The Path of Exile soundtrack.
Oh god, I saw the skill tree for Path of Exile and I wanted to
don't look at that.
spew.
No,
It looks like a
look at that.
constellation.
It is a constellation. You've got your little stars and your little you'll have people walking up going, "Yes, you see that star over there? That's been up there for generations."
Jesus.
You know? So, but yeah, that soundtrack for that game encapsulates I don't know how much you know about sort of ARPGs, but they kind of go through a 3-month cycle where they reset economies, sort of restart everything and bring it back.
Good, because the hyperinflation that existed in World of Warcraft back in the day was so fucking crazy. So I'm glad that they learned that lesson.
Oh yes, they absolutely did. But you know, they bring out such good music, and especially for me who plays role playing games, sort of tabletop role playing games like D&D and Pathfinder. They're great for combat and they're really good for background music.
I've recently sold 13 magic cards and I've made $280.
Very nice.
Well Holy moly. And I've still got like 52 left to sell.
But yes, on the Cyberpunk thing, I will not be pre-ordering CD Projekt Red games anymore.
Do you reckon you'll pre-order a game again?
Probably not.
I honestly can't remember the last pre-order I did. I didn't pre-order Borderlands 3. And I was frothing in the mouth for Borderlands 3. I wanted it so badly. I just was losing my mind and I just didn't. Oh, maybe Overwatch. If I played the beta, is that a pre-order?
Yeah, you had to pre-order to play the beta.
Yeah, I guess I did pre-order Overwatch.
So, you had the open beta, and then if you bought it, you could pre-order it. So if you pre-ordered it, you could play the beta before the game came out. But it's not something that I'll ever be doing again, just because, well, frankly, they just didn't deliver Cyberpunk. Like, it's not finished. It's still not finished.
I have not finished the game, and I have no desire to finish the game. I was just playing it, and I'm like,
that is fair enough.
There's cool things here and there, and there's some interesting story stuff. And people were like, "Oh, Keanu Reeves is a bit average." I'm like, Keanu Reeves is pretty good in this. I don't know what you're talking about. Cyberpunk and stuff like that. Like, it's cool, and there's like nice ideas, but it's just, the most interesting part of that game is the side quests. The main quest is dog shit.
Do you remember
absolutely dog shit? Do you remember when IGN, whether you trust their reviews or not, a lot of people still watch them. Not. IGN were like, Cyberpunk's side quests aren't like a tree. It's more like a large bush. And we're like, did you seriously just call Cyberpunk a bush? What the fuck are you talking about? The idea is, normally with games with lots of side quests, you do a few main missions and then you get the opportunity to start doing side missions. Yes. Cyberpunk, if you haven't played it, buy it if you want. You choose.
I would say don't buy it until the end of the year. They're fixing it. It's not done yet.
Consider our opinions, but if you want to buy it, go ahead.
I mean, people still buy Fallout 76, so
that's true. Let's hope a No Man's Sky situation happens. Anyway, the thing with Cyberpunk is you can literally do the hardest side quests in the game on the get-go and just run off and do it, which is pretty cool, but it's like you obviously can't do them. Like, you're just going to get mowed down. So the game still subtly points you in different directions and well, a certain direction, mind you, not different directions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but one of our friends who's very, very into games, he plays Stellaris and that kind of stuff. He did not play the main story until he finished every single side quest.
Holy shit.
Then he played, no joke. And then he played the main mission and he was like, I don't really get the main mission. It's kind of boring. And I was like, that's because you're meant to sprinkle in side quests during it. You're not meant to just go like beeline side quests.
I'm weird. I'll see a main quest and then a bunch of side quests pop up. Every side quest has to be done, and then I do the main quest. I don't know what it is.
Well, no wonder you didn't like Cyberpunk. Well, you probably got bored doing all the side quests.
Cyberpunk was fucking overwhelming. There's a couple cool sequences in like main quests, but it's like I just couldn't.
That's
like I'm gonna go out on a limb. Yakuza Like a Dragon is a better game than Cyberpunk.
It depends on what you're interested in. I would say.
I feel like story is very important in video games, especially for AAA titles at the moment. People are really wanting a good story.
Really? I don't think that's been proven at all. I think people want to have it, but no one's delivering it.
Yakuza Like a Dragon story I found predictable. There are,
Yep.
Obviously it's a fucking big game, so there's a lot of twists and turns. The big thing with a twist in any media project, it's not necessarily what the twist is, it's how it's executed. And Yakuza Like a Dragon, their twists are brilliant. They're just like, you know what's coming, but the way they reveal it is just really cool. And the gameplay is a lot of fun. You will be fighting these guys who pick up bin lids and umbrellas and fight you like that. There'll be like these dudes in bathers who are covered in water and holding like a floaty, and they'll run up at you to try and attack, and they'll slip over on themselves and pass on to the next attacker. The game just keeps it fresh. And I don't know. I don't know if it's JRPG, but you know those games where it's basically idle animation. You hit A for a punch, you walk up, punch, walk back, idle animation.
Quick time events.
Yeah. Yakuza, all the characters are constantly moving around, so it feels very fluid. And because the map turns into the battlefield that you're in, you can pick up signs off the street and throw them at people.
How would you compare it to something like Arkham Asylum? Because that seems to be the most common comparison, or Arkham City, like that sort of Batman style of press counter to kill shit and do fluid movement.
Look, Arkham City is like so bloody good. Like if you like games, you have to play Arkham City. Even if you don't love Batman or DC, just play Arkham City. It's so good. City is probably better. But then again, you don't get these unicorn games like Arkham City or GTA 5 or Borderlands 2, I guess, if you want to put that in the category.
I can see a justification for
COD 4, Modern Warfare 1.
COD 4 was a beautiful flash in the pan that has just sort of been candle wicked and is burning away right now.
Yeah.
I'd say. Like, COD 4, I mean, really, COD 1 and 2 back in the day were revolutionary.
Oh, yeah, super cool.
COD 4 was like the pinnacle of gaming at the time. And I think that it's just sort of teetered off in terms of creativity until what it was. I think everyone said the new Modern Warfare game was really, really good because it had sort of edgy edgy storylines.
I forget the actress's name, but she plays the politician in the second season of The Boys. She's an Australian actress.
I do know who you're talking about. I can't remember her name.
She's actually quite a good actress. Let's keep her around. Yeah.
I don't know.
Anything for me, just to wrap it up?
Good work, man. Hopefully your comedy goes well. Hopefully you find some time to do your comical series, your cartoon series, or your comic series.
Yeah, well,
keep that shit going, my man.
See how that goes. My basket's a little bit full at the moment, but
it does sound like you got your hand in a couple pies.
I'm liking the podcast though. I think we've done a really good episode, and it's not just because you're trained and stuff like that. I actually think we got a lot of cool shit done.
Thanks.
You've been great fun. We'll probably have you back on. We can maybe do a video game or a D&D episode at some point because I fucking know nothing about D&D. I'll get Brother Samson on.
And the shit out of you.
Well, interestingly, a lot of the people, Magic the Gathering and D&D are actually doing a collab set. So it's a Magic set with D&D characters and stuff like that.
They've already done a D&D.
Yeah, they have Theros and Ravnica as planes.
They have the entirety of Eberron.
Eberron?
Yeah, Eberron.
I don't know Eberron.
Hold on.
Is it definitely called Eberron?
Yes.
How's it spelled? Eldraine?
Eberron.
Eberron.
What's it called? Rise of the Last War.
And that's a Magic the Gathering property?
I believe so. There was a D&D Magic the Gathering property. Hold on.
That's very interesting.
Huh. Yeah.
Because I would have expected him to do, because they've done a Viking set recently. Eldraine, which I just mentioned, is like fairy tale themed, which
they're owned by the same people, aren't they?
Yeah, has WotC, which is owned by Hasbro.
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast.
Was it WotC? Yeah, Wizards of the Coast. Yep.
Yeah, WotC. WotC.
No, that's what people call it.
Really? Who says the WotC?
Everyone. Pokemon cards, especially with that community, because Wizards used to own Pokemon cards, but now Nintendo does it. So if it's Wizards cards, they just got a huge boost. Yeah, it's crazy market. All right, let's wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Matt. It's been fun.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
What's your YouTube channel again? Do you want people to follow you on YouTube or Instagram?
Follow me on Instagram. It's just Matthew _Hayduck on Instagram, and on my YouTube it's MHayduk, MHayduk. You can sort of keep up with everything there. I try and do an Instagram every now and then, but the main stuff is on the YouTube channel. So come check it out and enjoy yourself. Awesome. Don't take yourself too seriously, guys.
Yeah, no, right. Just fucking relax, guys. Like, seriously, chill out.
Everyone since last year has been very, very uptight. We all need to just have a nice, relaxing time. Have a beer, chill out.
No, do you know what? Personal point of privilege. Not everyone drinks beer. That's very offensive of you to say that.
I don't give a shit.
Anyway, all right, that's it. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.